Hey everybody, it's Emily Dark Schooling, and today I'm going to be sharing my April favorites. I am still in denial that it's the end of April. I am not prepared for this in the slightest. I need more months in this year. I don't know how I'm going to get everything accomplished, but we're going to do it. So, today I'm going to be upbeat and we're going to talk about the things that I really liked this month. So, I really don't have a ton to go through. I have 2 TV shows to talk about, I have a game, and I have some books. So I'm going to start with the game. And that game is Bring Your Own Book. This game is so fun. I bought this like at the beginning of the month, I think, and we've only played it once, but this game was so much fun. Basically, if you're familiar with the concept of apples to apples, it's the same idea, but with books. And you have to bring your own book for this game. So you would choose a book that you've read, and that is what you're going to answer the prompt cards with. It comes inside the box with your game cards here, a little timer, and a place where you can write down the books that you've used to play the game. And there's also a bookmark. And the bookmark is cute. I love bookmarks. But it has a bunch of prompts on the back of it. So, for example, if you were going to play the game, everyone picks their own favorite book. And then the prompt might be lyrics from a hip-hop song. And then everyone has to grab their book and start flipping and finding their answer. And then as soon as somebody has it, they say, got it, and they flip the timer. And then everyone else has 60 seconds to find their answer. And then one person's the judge, and then everyone goes around and reads their prompt answer, their prompt response, and then the judge can pick which one they like the best. We played it, we made the rule that everyone had to use a children's book, so everyone picked a picture book or such and used that to play. So that was really easy, even my youngest. This does say 12 and up, but my 9-year-old played, and we had to help her a little bit sometimes, but overall she could play too. If your younger child is a strong reader, I think they can play pretty well. I give that game an A+. I loved it. I want to play it again. My daughter and I have been discussing doing a video where we play it on camera. I don't know. We'll see how it goes, if we get to it or not. We'll see. It might happen. If you want to see that happen, let me know in the comments and that might motivate us. So I'm going to talk about TV shows next. My favorite this month was Spartacus. I've seen it before. This was like maybe our 3rd rewatch of Spartacus. I don't know. I'm obsessed. But it was only the 1st season and then the prequel. I don't like the rest of it. I'll watch it. Maybe if there's nothing else to watch, we'll watch that. But yeah. Anyway, let me just gush a minute. If you have never seen Spartacus and you don't mind a lot of nudity and a lot of sex, then I highly recommend it. I know, I always have to throw that caveat out there because that can be startling if you're not expecting it. They're naked a lot. And it's very equal in the nakedness. There's a lot of naked men. And that can be startling for some people. It took me aback at first when I was like, whoa, okay, so we're gonna do that. Anyway, if you can get past that, the show is fantastic. I love it. It's about Spartacus. It takes place in ancient Rome. It's about gladiators and the gladiator uprising, and it's just, it's so good. But my favorite thing about the whole thing is Andy Whitfield. It was freaking amazing in that show. He was just, he was so good. And I'm still so upset when I have to think about the fact that we never got more from him because he died so tragically and so young, and it breaks my heart to think about it. He was brilliant. He would have had an amazing career. But anyway, the story is amazing. The characters are really, really well thought out. They're all really rich, and you can understand their motivations, whether they're motivated for good reasons or for bad. And the story itself is wonderful. I loved the idea of some of the gladiators really wanting to be a gladiator. Like Crixus doesn't want to be free. He loves being a gladiator, and it's not until awful things have to happen to him for him to really snap out of that and want to have some freedom. And I love that. I love the prequel, so we can kind of see how Quintus and Lucretia got to being as awful as they are. And I loved, like, that Lucretia was always awful. There was never a time when she wasn't just a horrible person, but that Quintus kind of had to be worked up there by her. I love it. I love everything about it. It's awesome. And if you haven't seen it and you don't mind all those things, then I recommend it. It's really good. The other TV show I want to talk about is one I have mixed feelings about, but I really liked where they went at the end, so I'm going to go with talking about The Magicians. My daughter loves that show. She did not read the books. She started the books, didn't like the first one, and didn't finish it. So for her, the show is better. I forced myself through that first book, which I didn't think was that bad. But the second and the third book are fantastic in that trilogy. I loved The Magicians trilogy by Lev Grossman. So when the show was coming out, I got really excited, and then I watched the first couple episodes and went, oh, this is not what I was expecting it to be. It's not horrible, but it's not the same story that you get in the books where, you know, you have these awful characters who then become better as you go through the series and you start to fall in love with them. This show, they're pretty much all horrible characters and they stay horrible. I will say that the only thing that I do love about the show, or that they just totally nailed, is Penny's character. In the book, you only ever see Penny from Quentin's perspective, and Quentin hates Penny, so you really never get to understand Penny and his motivations, and so I love that we finally get to know Penny. And I love his character. He's awesome. So, yay for that. There's a lot of weirdness. The one thing I do also like is all the quippy dialogue and how they just reference everything. There's a lot of like Buffy stuff they talk about. There's just a lot of pop culture references, and sometimes they overdo it. There was an episode a season or so ago where it was just so much 90s nonsense that I was like, why are we even doing this? Like, is this necessary? And it was just stupid. And so, but that's the thing. They don't know where to draw the line as far as, did we do too much? No, it's always too much. They need to reel it in and bring it back to the actual story, because I feel like they get away from the story by trying to be too witty. But I did like where they went this season. It feels like it's getting closer to where we're supposed to be in the books, although they're still way off course as far as storylines go. By the end of the season, the very last episode, they had me, and I was like, okay, we're finally going somewhere interesting. So I have high hopes for next season. They're probably gonna ruin it and make me angry. But that was my sort of a favorite, but not really a favorite. Finally, I want to talk about 3 books that I read this month that I really, really enjoyed, and I just really want to talk about them. The first book I want to talk about is The Long Way to a Small Angry Planet by Becky Chambers. I've had this on my shelf for probably 2 years now, and I finally read it. This book is going to be in level 11 of Build Your Library. If you're curious, this is happening. I wasn't sure until I got about halfway through that I was just like, yeah, this is going to happen. It does have a lot of swear words in it. But overall, I don't think that that's a big deal. I thought it was really well done. I really liked that it's science fiction, but I like to think of this as happy, fun science fiction, as opposed to like the world is ending and everyone's gonna die science fiction, which you seem to see a lot. Like there's a lot of wars and things like that. And while there is some element of that in the story, I think this is more about like getting to know these characters that live on this ship, and their job is to punch wormholes through space to like make shortcuts to other places. And yeah, I love the characters so much. It reminded me a lot of Firefly. I love how diverse the story was. There's just so many different types of people, different types of species of alien, and you get to know all these different species, and the characters are just so much more accepting of different types of people than we as a society are. I feel like if this were to happen today, like this would not fly with most people. They just want to kill all the aliens. But yeah, I love that we get to meet all these different kinds of aliens, and some of them don't have genders, and some of them are beings who change gender through their life. And I like that most of the human characters are all people of color, because at this point in history there are no more like normal white people. Like there's very few of them left, and so I just think that's really interesting. I loved this story. I thought it was really good, and yeah, I'm excited that that's going to be in level 11. The next book I want to talk about is The Mad Wolf's Daughter by Diane Magris, and I read this to put in level 2. I loved this book so much. This is about a girl who is raised in a war band, and they live in Scotland and in the Middle Ages, and her family gets attacked in the night and taken to the castle to be executed. They are accused of all these terrible crimes, and to her, this little girl dressed, she's the youngest of his children and the only girl, and she's been raised in this band of brothers, so she's been raised to be a warrior, and she's part of this war band, and I think she's 12 years old. When they take her family away, she has to figure out how to rescue them, and so she meets this knight who is left behind and injured, and so she takes him and she's gonna bring him back and trade him for her family, basically. And it's just a really interesting story. She becomes this hero, and she does all these great deeds, and as she learns more about the awful things her family and her father especially are accused of, she can't believe that these things are true, because to her, this is her father and her brothers, and she loves them and they love her, and they would never do bad things. Like, he's taught them this code of honor that they have to live by, and so for her to hear that her father has done awful things is just, that can't be true. And as she learns that, oh well, that is true, but there were reasons, and people have blown these stories out of proportion, and because they just didn't know what really happened, or they assumed what happened. And I loved how she comes to terms with it and learns about who her family really is, and that she wants to be better. She wants to actually live by the code, and it kind of leaves an opening at the end, so I'm hoping there's going to be another book, because I would read it. It was super cute. This is really well done middle grade historical fiction, which I just adored. So the next book I want to talk about is also going to be in level 11, and that is Rebel Queen by Michelle Moran. I finished this like 2 nights ago. I stayed up late to finish it because I had to know how it was going to end. This book is beautiful. This is such a well-written piece of historical fiction. This story is all about a girl named Sita who lives in India during the time when it's being colonized by England. Slowly, England starts taking more and more from India, and she lived in Purda, so she was never allowed to leave her house. Women were trapped in their homes in this time if you lived in a village. And so she is trained by her father and her father's friend to become this warrior, and she's gonna audition basically to become one of the Durgavasi or Durgadal, and those women were warriors who protected the queen. And it would be rare for the opportunity to arise, because if you were one of the Durgadal, then you were there forever, or until you retired or were dismissed for whatever reason. So it wasn't a common thing for the girls to get a chance to try out for this role, but she gets the opportunity and becomes one of the Durgavasi for the Rani, or the Queen, Lakshmi, and she is rare for a queen in that time, in that she was a strong woman who knew what she wanted for her kingdom, and she was ready to fight for it. And she did fight for it, and she and her women warriors were such badasses. I loved those characters so much. And Sita is amazing. And yeah, this story is just beautiful. It's sad and it's tragic. And I mean, if you start the book and you kind of know where it's going to go, because I mean, historically, the Indians were under English rule, so you knew that the English were going to win in the end. I loved the story. I loved how it made me feel like I was there. I love when a story can just put me in a place and I feel like I'm immersed in that culture and that time, and I loved that. And this book was very well written and very beautiful. And this was also my second 5-star read of the year. I rarely give a 5-star. A book has to be amazing for me to actually give it 5 stars. So yeah, this got 5 stars for me. If you're curious, the other 5-star book I read this year was Thunderhead by Neil Shusterman. That's 2 5-star reads in a year so far, or half a year. So we'll see if I get any more. So those are my favorite things this month. If you have any favorites this month, I'd love to hear about it. Let me know down below in the comments and we can chat. Thanks for watching, and I will see you guys in my next video. Happy reading. Bye!